What was your fuck it, done helping others moment?
When a good friend of mine that I worked under had cancer and wasn't able to pay some bills, I loaned her $200 just to help. I was only 18 at the time and felt bad because she had kids. It was right around the holidays, and I just wanted to help however I could and be a good person in life. She promised to pay me back when she could. Turns out she lied about having cancer, was stealing from the company I worked at, scammed my other co-workers, and would come in after calling out of work for her chemo to make fraudulent returns while I was overseeing the store by myself because of her calling out. Got that beat fired and got promoted to her position after.
Had a friend years ago who was a bit self-centered and prone to stretching the truth, but he was a nice enough guy with a rough backstory and my friend group liked him, so I cut him a lot of slack. I like to host and I have friends staying over pretty regularly. Back then, I usually had 1 or 2 people spending the night on any given day. Anyhow, over the span of a couple of years this guy starts abusing that, staying over for days or even weeks at a time, eating my food and drinking my liquor without contributing, that sort of thing. While constantly talking about his grand plans and daydreams as if they'd already happened. A little sad, but also pretty annoying after a while. Anyhow, I sit him down one day and let him know he's gotta head home, and that he's free to come over and hang out, but I'm not comfortable with him staying over for the time being. He leaves, I think it went remarkably well, and head out to work. And it turns out that he broke in while I was away at work and stole a bunch of my sister's things because his birthday was coming up and neither of us even thought to get him a gift. It takes a special person to rationalize how burglarizing someone is really their fault. Anyway, all slack and sympathy went out the window immediately. Called the cops and he's dead to me.
I used to frequently stay late at work for clients who showed up to the veterinary clinic last minute with a non-emergency problem and no appointment. Then 3 times in a row, 3 different people were told up front about the after-hours fee, agreed to pay it instead of scheduling an appointment for the next day, and all of them called back the next day fussing that they shouldn't have been charged extra for keeping us 30 to 60 minutes past our scheduled hours and that we were terrible and trying to scam them by charging for our time, even though we told them up front and they had another option. It was exhausting and demoralizing. We did more than we had to for them after already working a full day because a desire to help is why we're all here in the first place, and they responded by saying our time was worth nothing and we suck. The entire staff said beat that. Now, unless it's a literal life and death situation, if we can't fit someone in before closing and they didn't have an appointment, it's a firm no. I'm in this profession to help others and I still work late for real emergencies when they happen or if an appointment runs longer than expected, but I'm done sacrificing my personal time for entitled people who don't actually need it.
When I had a truck during college, everyone suddenly wanted me to help move them. Most were cool and gave me money or ordered pizza, unprompted by the way. One time however some dude I barely knew needed some help. I show up, and nothing is packed in his apartment. He had a giant fish tank and lived on the 3rd floor with no elevator. It was a beep nightmare and I never got a dime nor food or even some beers. I never talked to him after that.
After working free of charge as a freelance graphics guy to build my portfolio up, and having a client basically make the most minor of adjustments, and constant revisions, 4 posters which should have taken me a day tops really, ended up taking 3 months. And when they wanted poster X4, I wanted money, ghosted. Lesson learned.
Had a newish neighbor ask if he could borrow our lawnmower. Sure. Well, more or less every week he would come and get it out of our garage, use it to cut his grass, put it away without cleaning it or adding gas. In the fall we mentioned it was a good time to get deals on a new mower. He never talked to us again.
We were asleep one night with window open. We wake up, BC, there is a couple walking down the road arguing. The girl is closer than the guy. Next thing we know the girl is banging on door begging to come in. We call police. They get there and couple gone. They tell us that's a common ruse being used in area to get you to open door so they can rob you.
My mother and her new husband had moved into a new place and invited all the kids over for Christmas. In previous years we would buy a whole turkey dinner from somewhere so no one, me, had to cook. So imagine my surprise when my husband and I walk in. My mother walks out of the kitchen, hands me a spoon and says, "Good, you're finally here," and goes to sit down in the living room. After a quick and awkward conversation, it was determined that my job was to make sure everything currently in progress, or not even started, got to the table on time, while everyone else socialized. Basically, I was the help and should have realized that, so any feelings I had about that were my fault. I was a good cook, and my mother taught me everything, not so I owed her. So I did, and not knowing the family dynamics, my new step-siblings were very thankful and appreciative of all my efforts, which caused a meltdown from my mother about how we all should be thanking her. That was the first time I used a phrase that has come in handy for these situations: "I'm so sorry, it will never happen again." And it never did. They weren't happy when they finally realized what that meant.
The day I realized that no one wanted to help me in return. Look, it's not about doing something for someone to get something back, and I will always help whoever I can that needs it. But when the same people consistently ask for help or money or what have you, without actually wanting to help you when you need it, or just hang out or be friendly in general, it's a huge red flag.
Somebody put one of those free item sites on Facebook that she needed an outdoor playscape thing for her kids who were going crazy during quarantine. My kids are now older, but we had this cool plastic little Tyke Sport that was in great shape. Those things are beasts. It had a slide and a little play area. Perfect for the age her kids were. I drive a pickup, so even offered to deliver it. She went full choosing beggars on me and said she was looking for a more elaborate one with more things to do. Like the giant wooden ones. Good luck, lady. I'm done with you all.
Me and my GF were leaving a McDonald's and pulling up to the stoplight. There's this homeless old man that we've seen around the area ever since we moved here, and my GF decides, since we've never given anything to this guy and he's always there, we should give him one of our McDoubles. He comes up to the car, says thank you, and walks back to his corner as the light turns green and just tosses it on the road right in front of where we're driving.
I have neighbors across the road who we extended ourselves to help out because they had young kids and seemed to be struggling. Well, they were really starting to take advantage to the point where we couldn't walk out of our house without them literally yelling for us because they needed a phone, a ladder, money, someone to drive them somewhere, diapers, our Wi-Fi password, our wood, etc., etc. This started happening every day and multiple times a day. It became ridiculous and oppressive. They have since pulled that beep with everyone else on our road, wearing out one generous person after the other. Once you realize people are merely moochers and are content to remain so, that's when you're done.
I was 17 and still in school. The corridors were empty as my teacher sent me out to go do her a job. So I was just walking down the corridor when this girl carrying a bunch of books bumped into me and she dropped the books, like you see in a movie, so I apologized because I wasn't really paying attention, and I bend down and get the books for her and hand them to her expecting at least a small thanks. But no. Instead, this chick had to say I have a boyfriend, so never ever purposely bump into me just so I can talk to you. You should have walked away. As she begins to turn away, I grab her shoulder, which makes her turn around, and I knock the books out of her hand and say now that was on purpose, and I walked away whilst she was stood there speechless. Some of you may think that was messed up, but I don't really regret a single bit of it, as she got what she deserved.
This is more specific to the teeny tiny town I used to live in. Used to believe I was valued by the community. Used to actually believe in that community spirit, that soul, if you will. I had seen it and participated in it. When I left my marriage of almost 13 years, there had been about 10 years of domestic violence. I well and truly thought the community would help me out if I needed it and reached out, as I had seen so many other times in the 15 years I had lived there. Nope, got quite the opposite. Nobody believed me. People who I thought were friends disappeared. People who I thought were friends played the "it wasn't really that bad, was it?" card. People that I thought I could trust to help keep me safe by not tell anyone where I was living went straight to my abuser with that info. Hardly anyone would even speak to me, even just to say hi, when I needed acknowledgement most. Beep all of those, beep.
When someone just spat some gum on my hand when I tried to help them up, and to this day screw them.
We have helped out my sister-in-law a few times with money/bills. Never a lot, $50 here, $100 there. Usually for some bill to avoid services being cut off. I'm usually the more heartfelt one in my marriage, but I ended up being the one to put my foot down. Went over to her apartment once. She had 2 big flat-screen TVs, new couch, new fridge, Kids on PlayStation or whatever console she got them. It was all rent-a-center stuff, but that was the end for me. I didn't have any of those things myself, not to mention the incredibly bad financial decision those things were with the high interest rate. Part of me felt like I was taking food out of her kids' mouths, but realized that no, her poor decisions was doing that.
When I dropped my rate significantly to help a struggling family with child care. Blended family needing to find child care for their emotionally damaged children who had been hospitalized by mom's boyfriend. Both parents worked and my wages were paid through a charity scheme. It was hell. They were utterly useless as people, let alone parents. They took the piss and ended up basically doing nothing with the house or children and ended up owing me nearly $2,000 due to them committing benefit fraud and pocketing what they should have been passing on to me. The final straw was when they asked me to babysit that night as they needed to go out on the lash. It's been stressful whilst telling me they couldn't afford food, let alone pay me. Never again will I fall for a sob story.
I'm a teacher. A parent of a former student contacted me in an emergency situation, couldn't afford to pay bills, and needed help. She was super helpful to me in my first year teaching, so I asked friends and family to help out and raised her about $2,000. Never again. She has contacted me every few weeks since then, always with a new reason why she needs more money, and when I offer food and clothing resources, she refuses it. It has placed me in such an awkward situation and I regret ever trying to help her out in the first place.
I was 16, only had €10 with me. Homeless lady begging for money, I tell her I won't give her money, went to the local supermarket, bought 2 packs of milk, some bread, some cookies, a bottle of juice and some cooked chicken. Went and gave it to her, with all kindness. 1 hour later I pass by the same street, and everything is on the floor thrown away, not even eaten or open.
When I rushed to another state about 2,000 miles away to help my sister because of a medical issue, and for whatever reason she decided to have her neighbor help her instead, without letting me know. It was 3 months ago and she is fine but still has not contacted me. That was the end for me.
Worked in Baton Rouge for a decade, 1999 to 2009, and would regularly give the homeless I saw around town, generously if I can say that without being a douchebag. In 2008 I was on a run for work and a guy caught me near the Target on Zegan Lane. He had nothing, he was homeless and on top of it had been robbed an hour ago. No worries, empty my wallet for the man, we all need help. Coming out of the shopping complex I see him hiding in the bushes opening a pack of smokes on a laptop while on his iPhone. Then a month later, saw a man I regularly donated to on Government Street. I would catch him on weekends, but this weekend my drop-off started early so I saw him as he arrived in downtown BR. I sat behind the TV station waiting for a pickup, and this cat gets out of a new car, changes into dirty clothes and grabs his sign from the trunk and heads off to his corner. I have given food and connected people with charities, but I have not given a penny to a beggar since then.
I was in school. No one was paying attention to what I was saying. I just did my work silently, turned it in, and watched as the rest of my table group went up in flames.
Last 2 times I've helped push someone out of mud, snow in the winter. They've slammed the gas pedal down, coated me in mud, and as soon as they were free of the mud just kept driving without so much as a thank you. I've stopped helping people stuck in the mud, snow. Edit, since people keep saying how it could be okay, here is my examples in my particular situations. We're talking about being stuck in like 2 inches of snow, muck on the shoulder in an empty area. Both times the road was clear 10 feet from where they managed to get a wheel stuck. This was a spot people would get stuck turning around, so really no excuse other than they were dicks. I can understand the side of a busy highway or something like that. Mine was definitely not that case though.
I used to counsel juvenile delinquents from poor backgrounds. After spending a day of getting cussed out for my efforts, I applied for law school. If I'm going to argue all day, I might as well get paid. I spent 5 years working with the poor, and I think that's the only time I actually helped move anyone out of poverty.
PTA is a beast that will just suck the life out of you.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.